Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. After the not entirely serious intro, we now continue with the topic of exporting routes. Enjoy! Once you have completed the planning of a route, you are faced with the challenge of exporting it to your navigation device. In addition, track of the day has the most support requests and often the greatest frustration. The reason is that you don't understand how your navigation device works. And many navigation devices work very differently. It's a jungle, and it can often be very annoying. This video should help you understand everything and avoid frustration in the future. Okay, let's get started. Demands and expectations are often very different. Drivers of large trucks just want to get from A to B safely and not fail because of bridges that are too low or roads that are too narrow. They also need safe parking spaces for the night. It's similar with motorhomes, but here you need additional fresh water and ways to get rid of your wastewater. Hikers want to be out and about in nature away from the roads. Cyclists are usually rather unhappy with steep climbs. Motorcyclists have very special demands. Here, driving time and fuel consumption are usually completely irrelevant. All that counts is often the thrill. But there are also differences among motorcyclists. If you ride a heavy Harley, you don't want tight hairpin bends. Pilots of Street Fighters believe that gravel roads were made by the devil himself. Touring riders with large travel enduros want a mix of riding fun and adventure. How the hell is software supposed to meet all these very different requirements? Unfortunately, there is only one answer to this question: not at all. It sounds sad, but it's completely true. There is no route planning software that does everything automatically and pulls the best possible result out of its sleeve for everyone. When planning the route and exporting it to your navigation device, you have to turn on your head. If this is too complicated for you, you will have to live with surprises and will often take completely different paths than you actually thought. As in the last videos, I would like to start with an example. Maybe you stop this video in between and try to follow the steps shown yourself. Okay, the task is to plan a route from Stuttgart to Verbania on Lake Maggiore. I turn off the automatic route calculation and first set Stuttgart as the start and Verbania as the destination. You can now see a beeline on the map. This is the easiest conceivable route, and any navigation device will be able to cope with it. Drivers of cars, motorhomes, buses, or trucks will usually try to cover most of the distance on well-developed motorways. There are rest stops along the way. You refuel and get something to eat. It can be annoying at the borders, so you will try to minimize border crossings. If you want to save on the cost of the Swiss vignette, you may want to bypass Switzerland via France or Austria. As you can see, the requirements are as high as the number of possible routes. We now calculate the route with the currently set vehicle and the associated routing profile. Then we duplicate the route several times and calculate it with other vehicles and other routing profiles. To make it easier to compare everything, we convert all routes into tracks. Now we do the same with curvature, calimoto, and MRA. We export all possible variants as a track and open them in Track of the Day. If you look at the results, they are congruent in sections, but there are also big differences. For fun, we do the same game with Google Maps and the TomTom Route Planner. Here the results are very similar, as long as you allow motorways and do not set any special features such as winding road. Some of the previously created tracks are almost identical to the route guidance suggested by Google and TomTom. Now we calculate our test route with a Garmin Zumo XT and a Zumo XT2 as well as a BMW Navigator V6. With identical settings, the results of these three devices are largely identical. Something else would also be surprising. After all devices come from the same manufacturer and use the same map material. Now we calculate the same route using the BMW Connected app. New variants for possible routing. What is the summary of our little experiment? You could say, if you just want to get to your destination quickly and safely, simply enter the start and destination and drive off. That's how many drivers do it, and they usually reach their destination and are usually very satisfied with the navigation. If you export a route that only contains start and destination to a navigation device, you will almost always see a different route than you have previously seen in the route planner. The reason is quite simple. If a route has only 2 waypoints, the navigation device has all the freedom to calculate the route. You will arrive at your destination, but on a path that you leave more or less to chance. One might now ask oneself what the alternatives are. Many navigation devices can import and display tracks. If you follow these tracks, you drive exactly as you have seen the course of the track in the route planner. A few navigation devices can even display and announce turn-by-turn directions when navigating with a track. This works, for example, with some TomTom devices, the BMW connected app, and the new BMW Navigator. Garmin devices, however, can only display tracks. The big disadvantage of using tracks is always that they cannot contain intermediate destinations. Tracks are therefore unsuitable for navigation with intermediate stops. If stopovers are to be maintained, displayed, and announced, routes are needed. We now do a little experiment and add the place Bregenz to our example route. We turn off the curvy routing and only prohibit the use of motorways. Now we calculate the route again with calimoto, MakeLifeARide, curvature, and track of the day, and display them as tracks again. The course of these tracks is now very similar. The more route points you add, the more similar the route guidance is. Even at about 10 stops, the routes are largely identical. If you export our test route with 10 stops to a Garmin navigation device, the route guidance already corresponds very much to our planning. And now it almost doesn't matter which routing algorithm you use. And almost without realizing it, we have taken the step from routing roulette to individual route planning. Most users will already be completely satisfied with this result. If you want an even stronger match between planning and navigation, you need more route points. In Track of the Day, there is the function Refine Route. You can see how to reach them here. Refine is the process of populating a route with additional route points. For this purpose, existing calculated route points are selected. The course of the route is not changed during refinement and is not recalculated. A GPX extension can be used to distinguish automatically interspersed route points from manually set route points. In this way, the refinement of a route can also be undone. How many route points you intersperse in a route depends very much on the length of the route and the navigation device used. In the Garmin world, the distinction between via points and shaping points is known. Via points must be approached or explicitly skipped. Shaping points are there to give a route its shape. In the TomTom world, or the new BMW Navigator and the BMW App, there is no distinction between via and shaping points. The reason is quite simple. This is a GPX extension from the manufacturer Garmin. Therefore, almost only Garmin devices know this small but subtle difference. If you refine a route in the BMW or TomTom world, and fill it up with a lot of stops, you can have big problems on the way if a road is closed. If in doubt, you have to skip many route points. It is not uncommon to get confused and then quickly destroy the actual route. With the new BMW Navigator and the app, the fact that the route points are only numbered here makes things even more difficult. If you delete a route point, the remaining points are renumbered. So, if you have remembered that you want to stop at route point 42, but then deleted 7 route points due to a closure, you have to stop at point 35. It's irritating and you get confused quickly. When refining routes, the respective original is preserved. So, the refined route is always a copy. If you don't want that, you can use the R export option, which stands for automatic refinement. In the case of an AR export, additional route points are automatically inserted into the route to be exported. You can control the number via the export settings. In addition, you can set that no additional points are interspersed on motorways. Garmin devices in particular tend to suggest absurd maneuvers when route points have been automatically inserted on a highway bridge or a few meters next to the highway. If many shaping points are exported to a Garmin device via R export, this is usually no problem. Shaping points are displayed as small blue dots on Garmin devices and are silently skipped if you ride something differently than you originally planned. With the new BMW Navigator and the BMW App, things look a little different. Here, many automatically added route points can also be a hindrance if you have to reschedule due to a closure. So, you have to weigh up between the accuracy of the route guidance, which can be achieved with many route points, and the flexibility in circumventing a closure, which can become a test of patience with many route points. Now let's take a closer look at the R export for Garmin devices. I now connect my Garmin XT2 to my computer and select our test route. Then I click on the Export button and open the dialog for editing the export settings. Here I select the default setting for the XT2. For the export format, I select the option Optimized without AR. Then I export the route to the XT2 and import it again immediately. You can see very well here that the calculated route points were not output. This also makes sense because the XT2 could not process them anyway. If you calculate the test route on the XT2, you can see differences to the route guidance within track of the day. This is not surprising, because the route was calculated in parallel with different map material, algorithms, avoidances, and parameters. Now we export the route with the export format Optimized AR. After the re-import, we now see the many automatically added shaping points. If you zoom in on the map, you can see that a different route would be possible in only a few places. If everything is set correctly, a device like the Zumo XT2 will calculate a route that largely corresponds to that of the planning. On Facebook, there is the Track of the Day community. Participation is free of charge. There are many tips and tricks there. In various chats, you can ask questions and discuss with other users. On the website of Track of the Day, you will also find a forum. There you can register for free and get helpful answers to questions or problems. This tutorial took 40 hours to create and it's completely free for you. "94% of the viewers of this channel do not have a subscription. When you subscribe to this channel, you help it grow. If you click on the little bell, you will be automatically informed about future tutorials. If you don't have a YouTube account, you can sign up for YouTube for free. Then you can also write your questions in the comments. Of course, I'm also happy about a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon.